Whatever you are doing, I need you to stop and listen carefully. What if you could change your entire financial life while you sleep? What if the very hours you thought were wasted in rest could become the hours that worked hardest for you, multiplying money, dissolving fear, and opening doors you never imagined? Stay with me, for I will show you how the night is not emptiness but holy ground, and what you plant there will rise with you in the morning. In this lesson, I shall show you how to use the night to multiply money and attract supply. You will learn the exact words to speak before sleep, words that have brought strangers gifts of thousands, words that have turned emptiness into plenty. If you have gone to bed worried, I will show you how to lie down in faith and rise in abundance. For God is your supply, and His law never slumbers. Your word is your wand, and even while you sleep, it creates. I know many of you have tried working harder, saving pennies, or even worrying yourself to exhaustion. Yet still the bills pile, and still money seems to slip away. You may wonder, why does nothing change? The truth is simple. You have been speaking the wrong word before you close your eyes. You let fear, doubt, and worry write the orders to your subconscious. But tonight, I will show you how to erase those orders and send a new decree, one of wealth, peace, and freedom. You do not need the world's permission to prosper. You need only align your night with divine law. Stay with me, for in this message I will reveal the hidden law that governs your night hours. I will teach you the affirmations that open doors of supply while you rest. I will show you why fear at night multiplies into lack by morning, and how a single word of faith can dissolve debts, attract money, and prepare the way for miracles. You will hear true stories of men and women who transformed their lives by changing their last thought before sleep. And before this lesson ends, I will give you the exact words that I myself have spoken, words that turn scarcity into plenty, that make every night a treasury of abundance. Do not miss what is coming, for one truth, spoken tonight, can change the whole course of your life. You see, here's something most people completely miss. They think when the body lies down, the mind lies down too. But I tell you, the body may rest, yet the subconscious never sleeps. It is the faithful servant of every word you speak, every picture you hold, every emotion you allow to linger as you drift into the silence of night. It does not reason, it does not argue, it does not delay. It only takes the last order you give it and carries it out with exact precision, working while you sleep, creating the conditions you will meet when you rise. This is why so many live in confusion. They imagine that sleep is simply rest for the body, and they tumble into bed after hours of fear, doubt, and complaining. They mutter, "I don't know how I'll pay the bills," or "Everything always goes wrong for me." And the subconscious, which is law and nothing but law, writes those words into the record and works all night to make them flesh. They awaken in the morning surprised that the same troubles follow them day after day, never realizing they themselves gave the command. I once knew a woman who, in jest, would say over and over, "I'm so sick of this house. I wish I lived in a trunk." She thought it was clever. She thought it was only a joke. But the subconscious knows no humor, and it keeps no holidays. Years later, she found herself stripped of her home, her belongings reduced to a small chest, living in the very condition she had spoken so lightly. That jest had become her decree. Now, don't miss this. If the subconscious can be impressed with words of lack and bring them to pass, how much more can it be impressed with words of abundance, peace, and plenty? The same power that binds can loose. The same servant that obeys fear will also obey faith. The law is impartial. It is like fire. It will burn a house or warm it, depending on how you use it. So I say to you, never go to sleep without giving your subconscious its orders. Never lay your head down without first speaking your word of truth. Let every night be an audience with the infinite. Let every night be the sealing of a decree that cannot return void. Whisper to yourself as you drift into sleep, "My night is filled with divine decrees. I sleep in peace and rise in plenty. Say it with conviction. Say it with expectancy. Feel it as already done. Then leave it to the law, for the subconscious will work while you rest. And here is the glorious secret. When you understand that your subconscious never sleeps, you stop treating sleep as wasted hours and start treating it as sacred hours. You begin to see that the night is the workshop of God, the chamber where seeds are sown, and the morning is simply the harvest of what you planted before you closed your eyes. Now, that alone is powerful enough to change the way you end every single day. But combine this truth with what I'm about to reveal next. What happens when you carry fear into the night? And you'll understand why so many fail to prosper even when they pray. Here's what most people don't realize, and it costs them dearly. Fear is inverted faith. It is faith turned upside down. Faith is belief in God's abundance, but fear is belief in the power of lack. Faith says, "My supply comes quickly and in perfect ways," while fear whispers, "What if it never comes? What if I lose what I have?" And the law does not stop to correct you. It simply carries out the order you impress upon it. When you lie down at night, filled with fear about tomorrow, about bills, about sickness, about loneliness, you are planting weeds in the soil of your subconscious, and when you wake, those weeds have already taken root. I once knew a man who feared a certain disease. It was rare, almost impossible to contract, yet he read about it constantly, spoke of it often, and pictured himself suffering from it until the very image filled his mind. The subconscious does not question, it simply obeys. In time, the disease appeared in his body, and he passed from the very thing he had feared. Do you see the lesson? What you magnify in thought, you magnetize in life. And the night hours, when the conscious mind rests, are the most dangerous time to indulge in fear, for the subconscious receives those impressions unopposed. Imagine a farmer who walks his fields just before nightfall. Instead of planting good seed, he scatters weeds, thistles, and poison plants. He walks away thinking, "It's dark now, no one will see, it won't matter." But in the morning light, his whole field is filled with choking growth, and he wonders why he cannot harvest wheat. That is exactly what many do when they go to bed rehearsing their worries. They are sowing the field of tomorrow with the seed of poverty, and they awake to find it waiting for them. Now some will say, "But Miss Shinn, I can't help it. The worries are too loud. The bills are too heavy. My mind won't quiet down." To that I answer, you must learn to reverse it. You must replace fear with faith, for the two cannot dwell in the same heart. When fear comes at night, do not entertain it, do not rehearse it, do not argue with it. Speak the word of truth to it. Say aloud, "This fear is nothing. God is my supply, and His law never fails. I rest tonight in the abundance of the kingdom." Do you see the shift? The very moment you replace fear with faith, the law begins to change the pictures it is painting for you in the dark. Let me make it plain. Fear is expensive. Fear at night is like signing a contract with poverty while you sleep. You may rise in the morning and dress yourself in fine clothes. You may say polite prayers. You may work hard at your tasks. But if you went to bed the night before with fear as your companion, you already signed away your harvest. And yet, the opposite is just as true. Go to bed with faith, and you sign your contract with abundance. So I say to you, do not let fear be your last thought at night. Cast it out as you would cast out a thief from your home. For fear is a thief. It robs you of peace. It robs you of health. It robs you of money, and it robs you of opportunities that were already on their way to you. Replace it with faith, and you will see a new order of events take shape in your life. That is powerful enough on its own, but let me take you deeper. What happens when you not only remove fear, but deliberately plant faith before you sleep? What happens when you use the hours of night, not just to escape fear, but to command prosperity itself? That is what I will show you next, and once you grasp it, You will never again go to bed as you used to. Now, let me tell you what changes everything. If fear at night plants weeds, then faith at night plants a harvest of gold. Most people think of faith as something they do in church pews or in moments of crisis, but I tell you, the most powerful faith you will ever practice is the faith you speak just before you close your eyes. Why? Because in those last quiet moments, your conscious mind softens, the veil lifts, and the subconscious stands wide open, ready to receive whatever decree you give it. It does not argue, it does not resist, it simply takes the words and begins at once to weave them into form. So if you speak words of supply at night, supply begins its journey toward you before the morning breaks. I once worked with a woman who came to me exhausted and nearly penniless. She had just $8 to her name, and her reasoning mind told her it was hopeless. But I asked her, "Do you have a hunch? Do you feel a leading?" She said, "Yes, I feel I must return home, though I cannot see how it will help." I said, "Then follow it. Never violate a hunch." Before she left, I gave her words to carry into the night. I said, "Speak this: Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right." She repeated it as she drifted to sleep. She obeyed the hunch and returned home. Within days, she was connected to a family friend who placed thousands of dollars in her hands. She often told me afterwards, "Tell people about the woman who came to you with $8 and a hunch. Do you see? She planted faith at night and reaped abundance in the morning." Contrast that with the woman who used to say, "I wish I lived in a trunk." She planted jesting words of limitation and reaped poverty. But the other spoke a decree of faith before bed, and she reaped miracles. The soil is the same, the subconscious. The only difference is the seed. Now hear me. Your word is your wand. What you declare in faith before sleep is not a wish, it is law. Say aloud, "God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep, under grace, in perfect ways." Whisper it if you must, but let it be the last note impressed upon your soul before you surrender to the night. Your subconscious will carry that command into the invisible, and you will rise to find channels opened, doors unlocked, and opportunities you never planned rushing to meet you. One night of faith can overturn a lifetime of worry. One decree spoken in truth can erase years of false records. That is why I say the night hours are holy ground. They are the time when man is closest to his creative power. If you speak abundance at night, you are watering your own garden, and you cannot fail to reap. So let this be your practice. Every night, close the door to fear, shut out the pictures of lack, and step boldly into the workshop of God with a decree on your lips. Say, "I rest tonight in divine abundance. My good comes to me swiftly, silently, and in perfect order. I rise tomorrow to meet supply overflowing." If you make this your last thought each day, the law cannot fail you. Now, that is the secret of faith at night. But what if you wish to go further? What if you want to know exactly how to speak your word, what denials to make, what affirmations to choose, how to shape your decree so it pierces the subconscious like an arrow? That is what I will unfold in the next section, and when you hear it, you will understand why I say, your word is your wand, and it works even while you sleep. Here is something most people never understand, and yet it is the very key that unlocks the treasury of the night. Words are not idle things. They are not empty sounds drifting into the air. Words are living forces, clothed with power, carrying within them the very substance of the unseen. Every word you speak is a seed, and the soil of your subconscious receives it without hesitation. If you speak of lack, you plant lack. If you speak of abundance, you plant abundance. If you speak in fear, you plant failure. If you speak in faith, you plant miracles. This is why I say, your word is your wand. It is the rod of power by which you direct the invisible into form. And when do you think this wand is most effective? When the conscious mind, with all its doubts and arguments, is quiet. When you are lying down, drifting into sleep, and the subconscious is wide open, waiting for its command. That is the moment when your word takes root and begins to weave its picture in the dark. I remember a woman who came to me with only $2 to her name. She was desperate, but instead of despairing, I gave her an affirmation. I bless these $2, and I declare that I have the magic purse of the Spirit. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, more money comes in. My purse is crammed, jammed, and bulging with abundance. At first, she smiled weakly, for her reasoning mind argued, how could this be? I only have $2. But she was obedient to the law. She spoke the words with faith. She pictured her purse filled and heavy with bills and checks. She repeated it at night as she drifted into sleep. Within a short time, she received a gift of $6,000, and she said to me, the affirmation worked like magic. And indeed, it was not magic in the worldly sense, but the simple operation of law. She gave her subconscious a decree, and it carried it out exactly. Now think about this. How many people go to bed each night muttering the opposite? They count their few dollars, sighing, this will never last. I never have enough. Money slips through my hands. They are making decrees just as powerful as the woman with the magic purse, but they are decrees of lack. And the subconscious obeys those words with the same exactness, creating conditions of poverty. Do you see? It is not the amount in your purse that matters. It is the decree on your lips. So I tell you this, before you sleep, wield your wand. Speak words that paint the picture you wish to live tomorrow. Do not say, I hope money comes. Do not say, maybe things will improve. Speak with authority. Speak with conviction. Say, I see my purse crammed, jammed, and bulging with money. Money flows to me in the night and appears in the morning. God is my unfailing supply, and His law is working for me now. Say it until you feel it, until the picture of your overflowing purse is so vivid that it seems already done. Then rest, knowing the law is at work. For here is the truth. Your words are the architects of your tomorrow. Every decree is a blueprint. If you make no decree, the subconscious builds with scraps and fragments of fear and idle chatter. But if you give it a bold, clear word, it builds with divine material. And when you do this at night, you are setting the wheels of creation in motion while you rest. You rise in the morning to meet conditions already prepared for you. So make it your habit to speak your word before you sleep. Speak it aloud, even if in a whisper, so your ears hear and your heart feels. Speak it with joy, as though the good were already here. For in truth it is. Your word is your wand. Use it, and it will never fail you. And if this seems simple, it is. But don't let the simplicity deceive you. For the law is perfect, and it is exact. The one who speaks poverty before sleep will rise to find poverty multiplied. The one who speaks abundance before sleep will rise to find abundance at his door. That is the power of the spoken word. Now, you might ask, but what about all the false words I've spoken in the past? What about all the negative decrees I've made without knowing? The good news is this: every wrong record can be erased. Every false decree can be overturned. That is why I will show you next how to use denials before sleep, to dissolve the old seeds of fear and make room for the new seeds of faith. Once you learn this, you will know how to sweep the field clean and prepare it for the harvest you truly desire. Now here's something that may sound unusual at first, but it is one of the most powerful practices you can ever carry into the night. Before you can fully plant the seeds of abundance, sometimes you must first sweep away the weeds of error. You must learn the art of denial, not denial in the worldly sense of pretending something isn't happening, but denial in the spiritual sense of dissolving every false picture, every plan that is not of God, every lie of lack or fear that has taken root in your mind. When I say denial, I mean the deliberate act of stripping error of all power, of speaking the word that cancels the record and returns it to nothingness. Just as you cannot build a palace upon rotten foundations, you cannot build a harvest of prosperity upon the lingering shadows of fear. That is why denials before sleep are so vital. They clear the ground, they sweep the field, they make way for the new planting of faith. Let me give you an example. A woman once came to me desperate about a situation that seemed hopeless. She had pursued a plan of her own making, a plan that brought only confusion, disappointment, and loss. I said to her, "Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated, and the divine idea now comes to pass." She spoke that denial faithfully, especially at night before sleep, and little by little the false plan unraveled, falling away without struggle, and in its place the right door opened. That is the power of denial. It does not tear or destroy. It simply dissolves the unreal, the untrue, the unfit, and leaves only the divine plan standing. You see, many of you carry into bed the burdens of the day. You replay arguments, failures, bills, and disappointments. And as you replay them, you impress them deeper upon the subconscious. But here is your escape. Before you lie down, speak a denial. Say, "This fear, this lack, this false appearance has no power over me. It is nothing. It dissolves into the nothingness from which it came." Speak it with authority, not as a wish, but as a decree. Then, when you lay your head down, your subconscious will not have the weeds of error to feed upon, but will stand clear, ready for the words of faith you plant afterwards. Now you might say, "But Miss Shinn, does this not sound negative? Why focus on denial?" And I tell you, denial is not negative when done in truth. It is like sweeping dust from the floor before laying down a clean rug. It is like clearing stones from a garden before planting seeds. You do not mourn the dust or the stones. You simply remove them because they do not belong. In the same way, you deny fear because it does not belong to you. You deny lack because it is not part of God's abundance. You deny sickness because it is not part of divine life. You deny false plans because only the divine design is permanent. This is not negativity. It is the highest positivity, for it makes room for what is true. So I tell you, do not go to bed without first sweeping your mind clean. Do not close your eyes with the dust of the day still upon your soul. Speak a denial and let the burden roll away. Say, "Every wrong condition dissolves and dissipates. Only that which is true of God is true of me. I am one with the Father, and I am one with my good." Speak it and mean it. Feel the release. Then, when the ground is cleared, follow it with an affirmation of abundance, and the seed will take root quickly, for the soil is fresh and ready. This is why denials are not to be feared, but embraced. They are your broom, your cleanser, your safeguard. And the night hours when the subconscious is open are the perfect time to use them. One denial spoken in faith before bed can erase years of false impressions. One word of authority can sweep away a whole record of fear. That is the power given to you in the spoken word. So tonight, when you prepare for sleep, do not just fall into bed as the world does, carrying all the weight of the day. Stand firm and speak your denial. Say, "Every plan not of God is now dissolved. Every picture of lack is now erased. Every fear is now banished. I sleep free, I rise free, I live free." And as you drift into the night, you will feel the peace of a field swept clean, ready for the planting of abundance. And that brings us to the next step. Once the old records are erased, once the weeds are cleared, how do we plant the vivid, living seeds of prosperity and peace? How do we speak affirmations so strong, so radiant, that they impress the subconscious with pictures of abundance that cannot fail to manifest? That is what we shall explore next, and when you grasp it, you will see why every night can be the richest planting of your life. Now that the ground is cleared by denial, you must plant it with living seed, and the seed is affirmation. Affirmation is not begging, it is not pleading, it is not wishing. It is declaring what is already true in God, and therefore must be true in you. It is the bold statement of spiritual fact, spoken with faith, and impressed upon the subconscious until it bears fruit in the outer world. Most people go to bed rehearsing their fears, but you, knowing the law, must go to bed rehearsing your truth. You must give your subconscious a picture of abundance, of peace, of supply, of joy, and it will reproduce that picture with perfect accuracy. The imagination has been called the scissors of the mind, and your words are the hand that moves those scissors. If you cut out pictures of lack, the subconscious pastes lack into your life. But if you cut out pictures of prosperity, the subconscious pastes prosperity into your affairs. This is the great secret. You are never a victim of circumstances. You are only a victim of your own words and images. Change the words, change the images, and the circumstances must follow. I recall a student who longed for work. She had no experience, no influence, and no visible opportunity, but she was willing to use the law. She took an affirmation from my book and repeated it hundreds of times. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. She said it as she walked the streets. She said it while she worked about her home, and most of all, she said it at night as she drifted to sleep. The picture of herself as a magnet drew itself so vividly in her mind that she could almost feel opportunities rushing to her. Soon she was offered a part in a successful opera, a role far beyond what her reasoning mind would have considered possible. She said to me afterwards, "It was a miracle due to that affirmation." But it was not a miracle. It was law. She spoke the word, she pictured the result, and the subconscious obeyed. Do you see how simple this is? The affirmation does not have to be complex. In fact, the simpler the words, the more powerful their effect, for simplicity goes straight into the subconscious without obstruction. You could say, "As I sleep, God's rich supply flows to me freely, fully, and without end." You could say, "I rest in peace, and I rise in plenty." You could say, "I am now an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right." Say it in your own words if you must, but let it be simple, let it be direct, let it be filled with expectancy. And here is the secret. Never affirm with strain. Do not try to force the picture. Do not clench your fists or tighten your heart as though you must push the good into being. Affirm with joy, with lightness, with gratitude. Let the words feel like music, not labor. Speak them as though you were describing something already accomplished. That is the way to impress the subconscious. It does not respond to struggle, it responds to certainty. Many people make the mistake of affirming lack. They say, "I never have enough. Everything always goes wrong. No one ever helps me." These are affirmations too, but they are affirmations of failure. And the subconscious, impartial and obedient, makes them flesh. That is why you must guard your words as treasure. Say only what you want multiplied. If you want money, affirm abundance. If you want health, affirm life. If you want peace, affirm harmony. And most of all, say it at night, when the subconscious is open, when the conscious mind is quiet, when the seed drops deep into the soil and takes root. So tonight, when you close your eyes, make this your practice. Sweep away fear with denial, then plant abundance with affirmation. Say, "As I sleep, God's rich supply flows to me freely, fully, and without end. Every cell of my body is filled with peace. Every door of supply is now open. I rest in plenty, and I rise in joy." Repeat it until you feel it. Repeat it until the picture is so vivid that you almost see it before your eyes. Then rest. The subconscious will take the picture and work all night to bring it into form. And here is the promise. If you make this your habit, night after night, you will soon find yourself waking to a new life. Opportunities will appear where there were none. Doors will open where all seemed shut. Money will come by channels you never thought of. Peace will settle over your affairs. And you will know, beyond doubt, that the word you spoke before sleep became the harvest you reaped in the morning. Now, some may ask, but what if I affirm the wrong thing? What if I hold on too tightly to something that does not belong to me by divine right? That is where the law of substitution comes in, and it is the safeguard of all who use this teaching. For you can never lose what belongs to you, and you can never keep what does not. And when you learn to substitute the right idea for the wrong one before sleep, you will never fear making a mistake, for the law itself will correct your course. That is the lesson I will show you next. Here is a law that has saved many from disappointment and guided countless others into the arms of their true good. I call it the law of substitution. Most people believe they must cling with both hands to the very thing they desire, even when it eludes them, even when every door remains shut, even when their whole being is restless and uneasy. They say, it must be this man, it must be this job, it must be this path. And when the door will not open, they press harder, they knock louder, they plead longer, never realizing that their very insistence may be holding them back from what is truly theirs. But the law of substitution stands as a safeguard. It tells us that if the picture we are holding is not the divine picture, then its true equivalent, its rightful counterpart, will come in its place. Nothing is ever lost in this law, only corrected, only made right, only brought into alignment with the divine design. I remember a woman who came to me, heart set on marrying a certain man. She pleaded with me to speak the word for her, to command that he would propose, to declare that he belonged to her. But I told her, that would be a violation of spiritual law. I will not speak the word for a particular man. I will speak it for the right man, the man who belongs to you by divine right. She was disappointed at first, but she agreed. I told her, if AB is the right man, you cannot lose him. If he is not, you will receive his equivalent and better. She held this in her heart, and soon the glow she felt for AB began to fade. She met another man who declared her to be his ideal, who said all the things she longed to hear, who loved her freely and fully. Her heart was captured, and she forgot all about AB. In her own words, she said, it was uncanny. But it was not uncanny. It was simply the law of substitution at work. A false picture was replaced by the true one, and she entered into her good without loss, without struggle, without sacrifice. Do you see how liberating this law is? It means you never need to fear being deceived by appearances. You may boldly speak your word before sleep without worry that you are asking amiss. If you say, I desire this house, this person, this opportunity, and it does not belong to you by divine right, then the law of substitution will gently exchange it for its rightful counterpart. There is never loss in God's kingdom, only correction. You may rest easy at night, knowing that your word, even if imperfect, will be translated by the Spirit into its perfect form. Now think of this in terms of money and supply. Perhaps you are affirming a certain channel. You believe the money must come from one person, one company, one opportunity, but when that channel closes, you fall into despair. What you must realize is this: the money does not belong to that channel, it belongs to God, and God has 1,000 other channels ready. So when one shuts, another opens. The law of substitution ensures that the equivalent comes, perhaps even greater than you imagined. That is why I always add to every affirmation the words, under grace, in perfect ways. It leaves the door wide for God to substitute the greater for the lesser, the true for the false, the permanent for the temporary. So here is the practice. As you prepare for sleep, if your heart is set on something specific, do not fear. Speak your word boldly, but seal it with the safeguard of substitution. Say, "If this desire is mine by divine right, it comes to me now with ease. If it is not, then its perfect equivalent rushes to me without delay. Then let it go." Trust that the law will sort the true from the false. Trust that your good cannot be lost. Trust that whatever belongs to you will find you, and whatever does not will pass away without harm. This law has brought peace to many restless hearts, for it ends the struggle of forcing and straining. You no longer need to lie awake wondering, "What if I chose wrong? What if I asked for the wrong thing?" You cannot miss your good, for God Himself is the keeper of your storehouse. The law of substitution ensures that when you ask for bread, you will never receive a stone. You may release your desires into the night with full confidence, knowing that the subconscious will work only with what is true, only with what belongs to you, only with what aligns with the divine pattern of your life. So I say to you, never go to sleep clinging with fear to a single outcome. Go to sleep declaring your faith in divine selection. Say, "I now receive my good under grace in perfect ways. If what I desire is mine, it comes. If not, its rightful equivalent appears. There is no loss, only gain. Then rest in peace, for the law of substitution is your shield, your safeguard, your guarantee." And now that you understand how to wield your word at night, how to clear with denials, how to plant with affirmations, how to safeguard with substitution, let me show you the proof. Let me tell you the stories of those who used these laws and saw miracles appear overnight. For nothing convinces the doubting mind like testimony, and when you hear these stories, you will know beyond all question that what you plant at night, you harvest in the morning. Now, I want you to hear this carefully, for it is not theory, it is not imagination, it is not mere promise, it is proof. It is the living demonstration of divine law at work in the midnight hours, and it shows beyond all argument that the word spoken at night is never wasted, but always bears fruit in due season, often sooner than the mind could ever conceive. I tell you the story of the woman with only $8, a woman whose life seemed boxed in by lack, whose purse was nearly empty, whose heart was heavy, and whose reasoning mind told her there was no way out. She came to me on a hot summer's day, weary and discouraged, saying, "I have only $8 left in the world. I see no way forward." But I did not see her poverty. I saw her abundance waiting to be released. I did not hear her words of despair. I heard the silent cry of her soul calling for deliverance. And I knew at once that God's law could never fail her. I asked her, "Do you have a hunch? Do you feel an inner leading?" She paused, thought a moment, and then said, "I feel I must go home, though it makes no sense. I barely have the money for car fare, and my home is filled with lack and limitation." Now, the reasoning mind would have told her, "Stay where you are, get work, hold on to what little you have." But I told her, "Never violate a hunch. Intuition is the voice of God. If you feel led to go, then go. For your part is obedience, God's part is supply." And before she left, I spoke the word for her, and I gave her the words to speak as she traveled, words to carry her into the night. I told her, "Say continually, Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right." She obeyed. She repeated it as she rode the train. She repeated it as she lay down to sleep. She repeated it when her reasoning mind argued and when her faith felt small. And what happened? Within days of returning home, she encountered a family friend she had not seen in years. Through that connection, she received thousands of dollars in the most unexpected way. She was lifted out of poverty into plenty, out of despair into joy. And from that day forward, she often told me, Tell people about the woman who came to you with $8 and a hunch. Do you see the lesson? It was not her $8 that multiplied. It was not her reasoning that found a way. It was her obedience to the inner voice, and it was her faith-filled words spoken as she slept. The subconscious does not need much to work with. It only needs a decree, a word spoken in faith, a picture held in the mind. She gave it the picture of herself as an irresistible magnet for supply, and the subconscious went to work all night, drawing into her life the money that already belonged to her by divine right. Now I ask you, how many go to bed each night with only their fears for company, rehearsing the same dark pictures, whispering to themselves, "I don't know what I'll do. I don't know how I'll survive. Everything is against me." They fall asleep in despair, and then wake in the morning to find despair multiplied. They speak of lack, they see lack, they fear lack, and so lack follows them like a shadow. But this woman, though she had only $8, did not lie down in self-pity. She did not let fear be her last word. She carried into the night a decree of abundance, a picture of herself as a magnet for all that belonged to her by divine right. And because she dared to speak faith when all appearances cried lack, the law rushed to obey her. For the subconscious never sleeps, and once impressed with the picture of supply, it went out into the invisible, arranging, connecting, moving people and events into place until her good appeared in the visible. I tell you, this is how God works. Not by chance, not by accident, not by labor or strain, but by law. And the law says, as you think in your heart, so shall it be. As you decree with your lips, so shall you see with your eyes. It matters not if you have only $8 or no dollars at all, for your supply does not come from the purse in your hand, but from the purse of spirit, which is inexhaustible. This woman discovered that truth, and her whole life was changed by it. She went to bed one night with a statement of faith, and she rose to find the channels of abundance open. Do you not see how close your own miracle may be? One night of fear can bind you, but one night of faith can release you. One careless word can tie your hands, but one powerful decree can set you free. And if she, with only $8, could draw to herself thousands by speaking her word, then you, no matter what your present condition, can do the same. It is not the size of the problem that matters. It is the size of the faith with which you meet it. The subconscious does not weigh your bank account. It only obeys your last command. So let this story be your example. If you find yourself tonight counting your last few coins, do not despair. Do not speak of lack. Do not lie awake rehearsing your fears. Instead, bless what you have, speak your word, and hand the matter over to the law. Say aloud, Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. I rest in faith and I rise in plenty. Let that be the last sound your subconscious hears as you drift into sleep. And then trust. Do not plot, do not strain, do not try to figure out the channel. God has channels you know not of, ways you have not considered, doors you have not seen. The law will work while you rest, and the harvest will appear in the morning. This is the story of the woman with $8, and it is not hers alone. It is yours if you will claim it. For the same law that worked for her works for you. The same God that supplied her supply is your supply also. The same word that brought her miracle can bring yours. Do not doubt, do not delay, do not dismiss it as coincidence. It is law, and the law is perfect, and if you dare to speak faith at night, you too will. Now, if the story of the woman with $8 shows you how faith at night can open the channels of great abundance, then this next story will show you the delicate precision of the law, how even the smallest desire, fleeting as a thought, is answered when it is spoken with faith and released into the unseen. It was Easter season, and I had been passing shop windows filled with rose trees in bloom, their blossoms so lovely and their fragrance so sweet that I found myself wishing, just for an instant, that one would be brought to me. I did not dwell on it long. I did not beg or strain. I merely caught a picture in my mind of a rose tree being carried through the doorway. And then I let it go. I gave thanks inwardly, knowing that with God all things are possible, even the most trifling of desires. Easter morning came, and with it, a gift from a friend. She had ordered lilies for me, but through some error, the florist sent a rose tree instead. When I thanked her for the gift, telling her it was just what I had wanted, she exclaimed in surprise, "I did not send you a rose tree. I sent you lilies." The order had been mixed, but the law had not been mistaken. I had spoken my desire inwardly, and the subconscious, which never sleeps, recorded it and carried it out. For once the word is spoken, the law is set in motion, and something must happen to bring it forth. Do you see the lesson? The subconscious does not forget. It does not misplace. It does not dismiss. It remembers every decree. It carries out every picture. It fulfills every word impressed upon it with faith. Even the smallest wish, once released in truth, must come to pass. That is why I tell you, guard your thoughts and your words, especially at night. For every idle word, every careless picture, every jesting remark is a seed dropped into the fertile soil of the subconscious, and in due time it bears fruit. If you do not want the harvest, do not plant the seed. But if you want roses, speak roses, and roses will come. Now think of this. If God's law is so exact that it delivers a rose tree in place of lilies simply because the heart desired it, then how much more will it deliver when you speak of abundance, of health, of success, of joy? If a fleeting picture of a flower can set the law in motion, then a deliberate affirmation of prosperity spoken night after night can build an entire life of wealth and peace. This is why I insist that you never go to sleep without giving your subconscious its orders. The smallest word is obeyed. The largest decree is fulfilled. The law is no respecter of size. It treats a rose tree and a fortune with the same impartial obedience. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember this story. Do not dismiss your desires as too small, too trivial, or too impossible. Speak them boldly, release them joyfully, and trust the law to bring them forth in perfect ways. If a rose tree can come through a florist's mistake, then money can come through unexpected channels, opportunities can come through doors you never knocked upon, and healing can come through means you never imagined. The law is infinite, and it will not fail you. Now, let us move from flowers to finances, for I want to tell you of a woman who faced a great crisis, a lawsuit for thousands of dollars, and how her nighttime decree brought a miracle of supply that arrived exactly on time. For if God can arrange a rose tree, He can certainly arrange $3,000. And when you hear this story, you will never again doubt that Spirit is never late. Now, if a rose tree could arrive in place of lilies because a thought was spoken and released, how much more could God's law be trusted in the matter of serious finances, in the hour when the reasoning mind trembles, when the bills are due, when the world says it is too late? Let me tell you the story of the woman who faced a lawsuit for $3,000. The day was fixed. The summons was prepared. She came to me in great distress, saying, "I have no way of raising this sum. I am undone." And I answered her with the only truth that stands when all appearances fall. God is your supply. There is a supply for every demand. Speak your word in faith and leave the channel to Him. Together, we gave thanks that the money would come at the right time, in the right way, under grace. I told her to act her faith, to walk and speak as though the money were already hers, to dine without fear, to move through her days with confidence. For the law requires action in agreement with faith, and she obeyed. The day of the trial drew near. She called me saying, It is Saturday. The courts open Monday. What shall I do? And I said, it is not yet too late, for Spirit is never late. God is punctual to the very minute. Do not doubt, do not waver. On Sunday morning, the most unexpected thing occurred. Her cousin, a man she had not expected to see, called at her home. He stayed for an hour, speaking of many things, and as he rose to leave, he turned and asked quite casually, "How are your finances?" She confessed that she needed help. Without hesitation, he said, "Then I will give you $3,000 at the first of the month." She thanked him, but reminded me with trembling, "The suit is tomorrow. The money will not be in my hands until weeks from now." But I said to her, "The law is already at work. The supply exists in the invisible. Let us give thanks now that it appears on time." The next morning, the miracle was complete. The cousin telephoned again, saying, "Come to my office today, and I will give you the money now." And so it was. She went to the bank, placed $3,000 to her credit, and walked into the courtroom not as a defendant trembling under threat, but as a woman free and supplied. The lawsuit dissolved, the debt was met, and she saw with her own eyes the truth of the words I had spoken. Spirit is never too late. Do you see the wonder of this? It was the decree spoken in the night, the faith held in spite of appearances, the affirmation repeated until it impressed itself upon the subconscious, that carried the supply into visibility. For while she slept, the law was working. While she lay in bed fearing the worst, I told her to replace the fear with faith, and she did. The subconscious received the command, and in ways unseen it moved upon her cousin's heart, set in order the exact chain of events, and delivered the money precisely when it was required. This is why I tell you, never say, "It is too late." Never say, "The hour has passed." Never say, "There is no way." For in God there is always a way, and the way is always on time. The subconscious is never bound by clocks or calendars. It moves beyond hours and minutes. It works in the eternal now. And if you will dare to speak your decree before sleep, even in the darkest hour, you will find yourself rising in the morning to a miracle. So learn from this woman. If you face a lawsuit, a debt, a bill that seems impossible, do not go to bed rehearsing the disaster. Do not fall asleep counting your worries. Do not let fear be your last companion. Instead, speak your decree. Say, "God is my unfailing supply. I give thanks that the money I need comes to me quickly, easily, and in perfect ways. Spirit is never late. I rest in abundance, and I rise in freedom." Speak it with faith, even if your whole being trembles, for the law will work regardless of appearances. Then close your eyes and rest, for the supply is already on the way. Now, with these stories before you, the woman with $8 who received thousands, the rose tree that arrived by law, the woman sued for $3,000 who paid her debt with ease, you cannot doubt that the night hours are holy ground. They are the workshop of the subconscious, and what you plant there, you will surely reap. And so, having seen the proof, let me now show you the practice. Let me unfold for you the practical rituals you can use each night to prepare your mind, to impress your subconscious, to give your word, and to rest in faith, so that you too may rise in the morning to meet your good. There is a sacred gate through which every man and woman must pass each night, and that gate is the borderland between waking and sleeping. It is in those last 5 minutes, when the body relaxes and the conscious mind releases its hold, that the subconscious stands wide open, listening, waiting, ready to receive the orders that will govern the hours of rest. Most people stumble through this borderland carelessly, letting the last thought in their mind be worry, complaint, regret, or fear. They turn over their burdens to the night and then wonder why they wake with the same burdens multiplied. But those who know the law guard this borderland as holy ground. They understand that the final picture impressed upon the subconscious before sleep is the picture that will be painted in their affairs. So they do not enter the night empty-handed. They enter with a decree, with a word of truth, with an affirmation of abundance, and they leave it in the keeping of the subconscious, which works faithfully while they rest. Think of it like this. Suppose you were the master of a great estate, and you had a servant who worked tirelessly all night carrying out every instruction you gave. Would you dismiss him at the end of the day with a shrug, leaving him no orders, or worse, would you fill his ears with confusion, contradiction, and despair? Of course not. You would give him clear directions, simple, direct, powerful, and then you would rest, knowing he would fulfill them. So it is with the subconscious. It is your faithful servant, and it works in the night whether you guide it or not. If you leave it unguided, it will take its cues from the fears and doubts of the day. But if you direct it, it will carry out your word to the letter. I tell you, this is why the last 5 minutes before sleep are more important than the 5 hours before them. You may spend your whole day in confusion, but if you close the day with a decree of truth, the subconscious will carry that decree into the night and begin to turn the tide. And you may spend your day in success, but if you close the night with fear, the subconscious will carry that fear into tomorrow and undo your good. The night magnifies the last thought held at the gate. That is why I call it sacred. That is why I tell you, guard it with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So what should you do in those 5 minutes? First, still yourself. Breathe deeply and let the body relax. Release the events of the day and let them pass from your mind. Then, speak your denial, sweeping away the dust of fear. Say, every plan not of God dissolves now. Every false picture is erased. Every worry, every fear, every shadow has no power over me. Then, having cleared the ground, plant your affirmation. Speak it aloud if you can, or whisper it so your ears may hear. Say, I rest in divine abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. As I sleep, large sums of money come to me quickly, easily, and in perfect ways. I rise in the morning free, supplied and overflowing with good. Repeat it until the words carry a rhythm, until you feel them sinking deeper than thought, deeper than reasoning, into the heart itself. And then, this is most important, release it. Do not lie awake questioning how or when. Do not retrace the channels. Do not argue with appearances. Let the decree be the last word, and let silence carry you into sleep. For once the order is given, it is given. The subconscious has heard it, and it will work without ceasing until it is fulfilled. You need not repeat it 100 times with strain. Say it with conviction once, twice, until you feel it settle in your soul, and then rest. The law does not require toil, it requires faith. This practice, if made a habit, will change your entire life. Within weeks, you will begin to notice that you wake with a lighter heart, with new ideas, with doors opening in unexpected places, with supply flowing from channels you never considered. For you will have stopped stumbling through the gate of night and begun to enter it as a king enters his throne room, speaking the word, commanding the unseen, and resting in the certainty of divine law. So tonight, remember the gate. Do not cross it carelessly. Take those last 5 minutes and treat them as sacred. Sweep away fear, plant your affirmation, and rest in faith. And when you do, you will see the truth of the scripture, He giveth His beloved sleep. For in that sleep the law is working, the supply is flowing, and your good is rushing to meet you. Now, once you understand the power of those last minutes, you must also learn to prepare for your good before you even see a sign of it. For faith without preparation is incomplete, and when you prepare in the night as though your desire were already fulfilled, you set the stage for its manifestation. And that is the next lesson I will unfold for you. The law of preparation. Here is a secret that separates those who only dabble in truth from those who demonstrate it with power. The law of preparation. Most people wait until they see a sign of their good before they prepare for it. They say, "I will buy the blankets when I have the apartment. I will celebrate when I have the money. I will rejoice when the victory is in sight." But faith does not wait. Faith acts. Faith digs its ditches in the desert before there is a cloud in the sky. Faith sets the table before the food has appeared. Faith prepares the purse before the money arrives. For faith knows that God's supply is already in existence, waiting only to be claimed, and preparation is the outward proof that the claim has been made. I once knew a woman who needed an apartment in New York at a time when apartments were nearly impossible to find. The city was full, the vacancy rate was near nothing, and her friends pitied her, saying, "You will never find one. You must resign yourself to living in a hotel." But she refused to join the chorus of doubt. She spoke her word, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for the right apartment." And then she acted her faith. She had thought of buying new blankets, but the reasoning mind whispered, "Why waste the money? You may not find an apartment at all." Yet she silenced the doubt and answered with faith, "I will dig my ditches by buying the blankets." And so she did. The blankets were her preparation, her demonstration of belief that the apartment was already hers. And soon enough, though hundreds had applied, she was given a place that suited her perfectly. Her preparation made the way for her good. Now think of this in the night hours. How many go to bed rehearsing their desires but never prepare for their fulfillment? They say, "I want money," but their purse is empty and neglected. They say, "I want opportunity," but they make no room in their schedule for it. They say, "I want abundance," but they hold so tightly to every coin that there is no channel open for new supply. The law cannot fill a cup that is already clutched shut. But if you prepare, if you act as though your good were already on the way, you open the door wide. The subconscious, seeing your act of faith, sets itself to work all the more quickly to bring the picture into form. So here is a practice you may take into your nights. Before sleep, prepare something tangible as a sign of your faith. Place your purse by your bed, not empty, but with a bill or two blessed and affirmed as the seed of abundance. Say aloud, "This purse is my magic purse of spirit. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, more money comes in. It is crammed, jammed, bulging with supply." Or perhaps write a check to yourself for the amount you desire, and place it where your eyes can see it as you drift to sleep. The subconscious loves pictures, and it will take that image and work with it through the night. Or, if your desire is for a home, prepare a corner of your present dwelling as though it were already part of your new place. Arrange a space for it, clear out what is old and worn, and declare, "I make room now for my new home. It is mine by divine right, and it comes to me under grace in perfect ways." Do you see the principle? Preparation is the proof of faith. It is saying to the universe, "I am so sure of my good that I will act as though it were already here." And when the subconscious sees that act, it takes it as a command, and the law begins to rush the good into visibility. This is why Jesus said, "When ye pray, believe ye have it." Not believe you will have it someday, but believe you have it now. And the surest way to believe you have it now is to prepare as though you already do. So tonight, as you stand at the borderland of sleep, do not merely speak your word, show your word. Prepare something, however small, that proves your expectancy. Place your purse, write your check, arrange your space, bless your belongings. Let your subconscious see that you are not just wishing, you are believing. And then sleep in peace, for you have made room for your miracle. And if you think preparation is only for things, let me assure you, it is also for guidance. For intuition speaks loudest when the way has been prepared, and when you go to bed ready to hear, you will often wake with the very answer you need. And that brings us to the next practice, the voice of intuition that speaks in the night. There is a secret that most overlook, yet it is one of the greatest gifts of the night, the voice of intuition. I tell you, prayer is man speaking to God, but intuition is God speaking back to man. Too often people stop halfway. They pray, they beg, they affirm, and then they shut the door, never waiting for the answer, never expecting the still small voice to whisper, never listening for the hunch that carries the miracle. But the wise understand that intuition is the beeline to demonstration. It is the divine direction that bypasses reasoning, that cuts across appearances, that points out the way in which supply will surely come. And the night, when the conscious mind has stepped aside, when the clamor of the world has grown silent, when the heart is most open, is the time when intuition speaks most clearly. I once knew a man who longed to travel abroad but had no money to make the journey. By every appearance, it was impossible. Yet he began to affirm each night, "I give thanks for my divinely planned trip, divinely financed, under grace, in a perfect way." He repeated it faithfully, and one night, as he lay in that borderland between waking and sleep, he felt something extraordinary. He said it was as though his very room began to move. He felt the motion of a ship, heard in his inner ear the cry of a seagull, smelled the salt air of the docks. The picture was so real he could almost believe he was already aboard. That was intuition painting the image of his good. It was the subconscious confirming that the trip was already his. Within weeks, the money came to him from an unexpected source, and he sailed abroad, just as he had felt in that midnight vision. This is how intuition works. It comes not with long arguments or heavy reasoning, but with flashes, with pictures, with feelings, with sudden hunches that cannot be explained. And the night is its chosen channel, for then the reasoning mind is quiet, and the voice of God can be heard without interference. That is why I tell my students to always affirm before sleep, "I will know what to do. I will hear the still small voice. I will wake with clear direction, and without fail, those who believe it wake in the morning with a thought, a plan, a nudge so strong that when they obey it, the doors open and their good appears." But here is the danger. Many people dismiss intuition because it seems too small, too ordinary, too strange. They say, "That was just my imagination." They ignore the voice, and so they miss the miracle. Do not make that mistake. If you feel led to write a letter, to take a walk, to call a friend, to look in a certain place, do it. For intuition is not always grand. It often whispers in the simple, everyday things, and yet behind those whispers are the channels of supply. A woman once told me she could not pay her rent. She affirmed for supply, and that night her dog kept whining to be walked. At first, she resisted, thinking it was foolish to go out, but the inner urge pressed her. She obeyed. Halfway down the block, she looked down and saw a roll of bills lying on the ground, enough to cover her rent exactly. Now some would say that was chance, but I say it was law. It was intuition guiding her steps, and because she obeyed, her good was released. So here is your practice for the night. Before you close your eyes, ask clearly, what is the next step? What would you have me do? Then affirm, I will hear, I will know, I will obey. Fall asleep expecting an answer. It may come in a dream, in a sudden thought upon waking, in a strong feeling that pulls you in a certain direction. Trust it. Follow it. For intuition is God's map in your hand, and it will never lead you astray. And let me add this. When you begin to live by intuition, you move into the miraculous. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, seizing the right opportunities. The reasoning mind could never arrange it, but the law working through intuition can arrange everything perfectly. And the night is the womb of intuition. So give thanks before sleep that you will hear clearly and rise in the morning ready to act. Now, once you have learned to hear and obey, there is one more practice for the night, and it is perhaps the most restful of all, the practice of non-resistance. For after you have spoken your word, made your denial, affirmed your good, and prepared for its arrival, you must also release all strain and let the law do its work. That is the next lesson, and when you understand it, you will know how to rest in divine timing and rise to find your miracle already on its way. There is a law that many overlook, and yet it is one of the greatest secrets of demonstration: the law of non-resistance. Most people, even those who pray, even those who affirm, even those who know something of truth, undo their good by clinging, by straining, by resisting. They speak their word, and then they toss in their beds, wondering when and how it will come. They pray for supply, and then they rise in the morning anxious, watching every channel, fearful that the good will not appear. But this very strain blocks the flow, for resistance is tension, and tension is fear dressed in another garment. And fear, as I have told you, is inverted faith. It is faith in evil, faith in lack, faith in defeat. That is why I tell you, after you have spoken your word, let go, release it, hand it to God, and rest in the certainty that what is yours is already on its way. Do you recall the words of Christ, "Resist not evil"? This is not an instruction to lie down under wrong, but a command to refuse to give power to appearances. When you resist, you make a shadow real by fighting it. When you let go, you rob it of power. The same law holds in your financial affairs, your health, your relationships. If you cling, you block. If you release, you allow. Non-resistance is the open door through which supply rushes in, and the night, when the mind is meant to rest, is the perfect time to practice this law. I knew a woman who prayed for prosperity but could never sleep peacefully. She affirmed abundance, but then she lay awake retracing all her debts, calculating how each one might be paid, worrying that it could not be done. I told her, "You are speaking two words, one of faith and one of fear. The law is impartial, and it obeys both. Speak only faith, and then rest." I gave her this affirmation: I rest in divine love. I release every burden. I am supplied and free. She began to speak it as she closed her eyes, and gradually the anxious habit gave way to peace. Within weeks, money began to flow to her through channels she had never imagined. It was not the anxious labor of her mind that opened the door, but the quiet rest of non-resistance. Think of it like water. If you clutch your hands tight, you cannot hold it. If you open your palm, the stream flows freely. Supply is the same. The more you clutch at it, the more it slips away. But when you release, when you trust, when you rest, it comes of its own accord. The subconscious, when strained by doubt and fear, grows confused. But when soothed by faith and peace, it moves swiftly to bring your good. That is why I say, let sleep be your act of non-resistance. After you have spoken your word, do not argue, do not plead, do not repeat endlessly with fear. Say it once, say it twice, say it until you feel the peace settle over you, and then let it be. Close your eyes and let the law do its work. For the subconscious does not need your help, it needs only your command and your release. So tonight, after you have denied fear, affirmed abundance, prepared your purse, and listened for intuition, make this your final act: surrender. Rest in the everlasting arms. Say aloud, I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free. I rest in divine love, and I wake to find my good rushing to meet me. Then release it and sleep. For in that release lies your victory. The law will work while you rest, and in the morning you will rise to find doors open, supply flowing, and burdens lifted, not by your struggling, but by God's perfect way. And so, having learned the rituals of the night, the guarding of the last 5 minutes, the preparation for your good, the listening to intuition, and the practice of non-resistance, you are ready to overcome the enemies that often creep into the night: fear, worry, and resentment. For unless you learn to silence these enemies, they will follow you into your dreams and rise with you in the morning. And that is the next truth I will unfold. showing you how to conquer the only real adversary you have, which is the false picture in your own mind. Here is the truth you must never forget. You have no enemy outside yourself. No man, no woman, no circumstance, no condition has the power to hold you back. Your only enemy is fear. Fear is the great robber. Fear is the shadow that stands between man and his good. Fear is faith turned upside down, belief in evil rather than belief in God, a perverted trust in lack, sickness, and failure instead of an exalted trust in abundance, health, and victory. And when you understand this, you will see why fear must be cast out before you close your eyes at night. For if you carry fear into the silence, the subconscious will magnify it while you sleep, and you will rise in the morning to find the very thing you dreaded waiting on your doorstep. Fear comes in many disguises. Sometimes it whispers of money. What if I cannot pay my bills? Sometimes it haunts the body. What if this ache is a sickness? Sometimes it invades relationships. What if I am rejected, forgotten, betrayed? But no matter the form, it is always the same enemy. And here is the danger. The subconscious does not distinguish between fear and faith. It simply receives the strongest impression. If you lie down rehearsing your fears, the subconscious will take those pictures as orders. It will work all night to produce them in your life, and then you will say, I knew it would happen, but it did not happen because it had to. It happened because you commanded it with your fear. I once knew a man who dreaded a certain disease. He read about it, spoke of it, and pictured himself suffering from it. He rehearsed the fear so often that the picture became real to him, and in time, the very disease appeared in his body. He had been praying in one direction but fearing in another, and the subconscious, being impartial, gave life to the stronger impression. This is why I say, fear is the only enemy. If he had replaced those fears with words of life and health, his body would have borne a different record. So, what must you do? You must replace fear with faith before you close your eyes. You must give the subconscious a new command. You cannot simply say, I will not be afraid, for that still holds the image of fear. You must substitute it with a word of truth, with a decree of faith. If fear whispers, you will fail, you answer, I cannot fail, for God never fails. My success is secure under grace. If fear whispers, you will not have enough, you answer, God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, easily, and in perfect ways. If fear whispers, you will be alone, you answer, divine love surrounds me. I am never alone. I am one with God and one with my good. In this way, you turn the enemy into nothingness, and the subconscious has only truth to magnify. And let me tell you, once you conquer fear, you conquer everything. For fear is the root of all failure. Remove it, and the tree of lack withers. Replace it with faith, and the tree of abundance blossoms. That is why Jesus said again and again, fear not, only believe. He knew the law. He knew that fear opens the door to evil, and faith opens the door to good. And so I tell you, make it your nightly practice to cast out fear with the spoken word. Do not let the shadow be your last companion. Stand at the gate of sleep as a watchman on duty and say aloud, I cast out fear. God is my light, my salvation, my supply, my strength. I rest in faith, and I rise in victory. Once you begin to practice this, you will see that fear loses its hold. The pictures that once terrified you dissolve. The shadows that once haunted you fade. And you will rise each morning with a new courage, a new expectancy, a new freedom. For fear is only an illusion, and when you shine the light of truth upon it, it vanishes. Now fear is not the only shadow that steals into the night. There is another, subtler enemy that many carry with them to bed, and it is just as destructive as fear. That enemy is resentment and worry. Fear shouts loudly, but resentment whispers quietly, eating away at the heart, blocking the channels of supply. shutting the door to peace. And unless it is dissolved, it will follow you into your dreams and rise with you in the morning. That is the next lesson I will reveal. Now, if fear is the loud enemy that storms the gates of the mind, then resentment and worry are the quiet intruders that slip through the cracks and poison the atmosphere of the soul. Many do not even notice them, for they come dressed in the garments of self-justification and concern. A person lies down at night rehearsing the wrongs done to them, replaying a cruel word, reliving a disappointment, imagining what they might have said or what they will say next time. Or they lie awake turning over their burdens, calculating the bills, tracing out the worst possibilities, stewing over what tomorrow may bring. They do not call it fear. They call it thinking it over, planning, or getting ready. But in truth, it is the same destructive force, for resentment and worry are both forms of inverted faith. Resentment is faith in injustice, worry is faith in disaster, and the subconscious, impartial and obedient, magnifies them just as it does fear. I tell you plainly, resentment blocks your prosperity. It is like a dam across the river of supply. Every time you rehearse the injury, every time you nurse the grudge, every time you allow bitterness to linger, you pile more stones across the channel, and the current of abundance cannot reach you. You may affirm all day, but if you go to bed seething with resentment, you cancel your good. For love is the magnet, and resentment is the repellent. Love draws supply, resentment drives it away. I once knew a woman who was filled with envy because a friend of hers had received a beautiful gift. She could not rejoice with her, she could not bless her. She could only think, "Why not me?" I gave her this statement to speak: "What God has done for others, He now does for me and more." She obeyed, and soon enough she was given an exact duplicate of the gift her friend had received, plus another gift besides. When she released the resentment and turned it into blessing, the blocked channel opened and her own good flowed in. This is the law. Whatever you resent, you push farther from yourself. Whatever you bless, you draw nearer. And worry works in the same way. A man who worries over his money, who counts his coins with trembling, who imagines loss with every turn, is holding the channel of supply shut. His very clutching pushes money away. But the man who releases worry, who spends with thanksgiving, who blesses every dollar and sends it forth in faith, opens the river wide, and more money flows in. You cannot worry and prosper. You cannot resent and prosper, for both are thorns in the soil of the subconscious, and if you sleep with them, they will choke the harvest of your good. So what must you do before sleep? Forgive, release, bless. Speak the word that dissolves resentment and worry. Say aloud, "I bless everyone and everything. I hold no bitterness, no grudge, no ill will. All wrongs are now righted under grace. What God has done for others, He now does for me and more. I release every worry, every burden, every fear into divine love, and I go free." Let this be your nightly cleansing, the sweeping away of every shadow. Then affirm peace, affirm supply, affirm love, and rest. For the subconscious cannot bring you roses if you go to bed clutching thorns. And when you practice this, you will find a new freedom. You will wake in the morning lighter, clearer, freer. The faces that once troubled you will trouble you no more. The burdens that once weighed you down will feel as feathers. The bills that once haunted you will dissolve as new channels of supply open. For you have broken the dam of resentment, and the river of abundance will rush to meet you. And now, having cast out fear, dissolved resentment, and laid down worry, you are ready for the final act of the night, the bold declaration of dominion. For once the shadows are cleared, the soil is ready for the strongest seed, the decree of power that calls abundance to your door while you rest. That is the next truth I will reveal. I tell you now, when the shadows fall and the day closes its door, you do not step into emptiness, you step into holy ground. The night is not merely rest for the body, it is creation for the soul. It is the workshop of God, the silent temple where the subconscious receives the word and sets about its mighty labor. And when you understand this, you will no longer stumble into sleep weary and defeated, muttering the language of lack. You will enter the night as a king enters his throne room, as a priest enters the sanctuary, as a creator enters his workshop, with reverence, with expectancy, with command. For the night is holy ground, and what you decree there shall surely appear in the light of day. Do not think of sleep as escape. Do not think of it as the place where your troubles are forgotten for a few hours. Think of it as the place where your troubles are dissolved, where your desires are formed, where your harvest is planted. Every hour of the night is sacred, and every word spoken before you close your eyes is a seed cast upon this holy soil. If you plant fear, fear will rise. If you plant doubt, doubt will grow. But if you plant faith, faith will bloom into visible abundance. If you plant supply, supply will rush to meet you. If you plant peace, you will awaken to a morning filled with calm. I remember once saying to a student, treat the very act of lying down as though you were stepping onto consecrated ground. She took my words to heart. Each evening, she brushed aside the dust of the day with a denial, spoke her affirmation of abundance, and then whispered as she closed her eyes, "Every night I step into God's treasury, and I wake with supply overflowing." She said it night after night, sometimes with strong faith, sometimes with trembling, but she said it nonetheless. Within weeks, her life began to change. Unexpected checks arrived. New opportunities opened. Debts dissolved. She told me, "I feel as though each night I go to sleep poor and each morning I wake rich." But the truth was, she was rich already. The night simply gave her a way to claim it. Do you see then why I call the night holy ground? It is not because of darkness, not because of stars or silence, but because it is the time when the veil is thinnest, when the conscious mind steps aside and the divine idea can pass directly into the subconscious. And when that idea is impressed with faith, nothing can stop it from bearing fruit. So let me give you a declaration to speak as you enter this holy ground. Say aloud, "Every night I step into God's treasury, and I wake with supply overflowing. I am one with the inexhaustible riches of spirit. My sleep is peace, my waking is plenty. I rest in abundance, I rise in freedom." Let those words be your robe as you enter the temple of the night. Let them be the seal upon your lips, the banner over your rest. Speak them with reverence, speak them with authority, and then lie down knowing the decree is done. For the night is not a pause in life, it is the very pulse of creation. It is the womb of your tomorrow. And when you treat it as holy ground, when you enter it with a decree of dominion, you will discover that the night itself becomes a fountain of wealth. Now, once you have claimed the night as holy ground, you are ready to speak the strongest decree of all, the declaration that large sums of money come to you while you sleep. And when you grasp this truth, you will know that supply is not bound to hours of labor or days of toil, but that abundance can flow to you silently, swiftly, and even as you rest. Now we come to the boldest declaration of all, the one that shocks the timid mind and offends the reasoning man. Yet it is the very decree that opens the floodgates of abundance. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep. You may whisper it, you may shout it, you may sing it, but speak it you must, for it is the truth of God's supply. Money is not evil, it is not to be feared, it is not to be clutched in desperation. It is the visible form of invisible substance, a symbol of freedom, a tool of service, a channel of good. And when you speak of large sums, you are not being greedy, you are not being presumptuous, you are simply aligning yourself with the infinite abundance of spirit, which knows no lack, no limitation, no withholding. God is rich, and his children are meant to reflect that richness. I recall a student who once came to me in great need. She had spoken many affirmations. She had prayed with earnestness, but she was timid in her requests. She would say, "I hope to have enough to get by. I hope to manage. I hope to scrape through." And so she did. She scraped through, barely enough, never overflowing. I said to her, "Do not limit God with small thinking. Enlarge your vision. Dare to declare abundance. Say boldly, 'Large sums of money come to me quickly, easily, under grace, in perfect ways.'" At first, she resisted, saying, "It feels too bold, too impossible." But I pressed her. Do not argue with appearances. Do not measure God by your purse. Speak the word and let the law do the rest. She obeyed, and within days, unexpected channels opened, and she received far more than the little sum she had been hoping for. She told me, "It was as though the heavens opened when I dared to speak it." And so it was. For the heavens are always open. It is we who close the door with small words. You see, the subconscious magnifies whatever you impress upon it, and the night hours are when it is most receptive. If you whisper small, timid requests, you will rise to small results. But if you decree boldly, if you dare to speak of large sums, if you paint the picture of overflowing supply, the subconscious will work with that image, and the law will set in motion channels you could never plan. Why ask for crumbs when the banquet is set before you? Why speak of pennies when the gold of heaven is already yours? Say it boldly. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep. And do not miss this. When you declare large sums, you must also declare the manner, under grace, in perfect ways. For you do not want money gained by strain, by trickery, by loss to another. You want it in the rhythm of divine law, in ways that bless and harm no one, in ways that flow naturally and beautifully into your life. When you add those words, under grace, in perfect ways, you safeguard your demonstration. You align yourself with the highest good. You release the law to work freely, without resistance, without obstruction, without harm. So tonight, as you lay your head upon the pillow, make this your decree. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep, under grace, in perfect ways. My purse is crammed, jammed, bulging with supply. I rest in abundance, and I rise in plenty. Repeat it until you feel the weight of worry lift from your chest. Repeat it until you sense the picture forming in your mind of bills paid, debts cleared, opportunities opening, freedom flowing, and then let it be. Close your eyes, release it, and trust the law to bring it forth. For while you sleep, the subconscious is working, the channels are opening, the supply is moving, and the money is already on its way. And when you rise in the morning, do not dismiss it as fancy. Expect it, look for it, give thanks for it. Walk as one who has already received. For gratitude seals the demonstration, and expectancy hastens its arrival. Speak it at night, act it in the morning, and you will see with your own eyes that abundance can indeed flow to you even while you rest. So now you have come to the end of the night's journey. You have learned to deny fear, to affirm abundance, to prepare for your good, to listen for intuition, to release in non-resistance, to conquer resentment, and to speak your decree of dominion. And all of this leads us to the closing truth, the summary of the whole law of the night, the final word that will send you forth from this message ready to transform every evening into a treasury of abundance and every morning into a harvest of miracles. And so, beloved, we come to the end of this journey through the mysteries of the night. You have walked with me through the holy hours when the conscious mind sleeps and the subconscious takes command. You have heard the stories of those who dared to speak faith instead of fear, who carried affirmations of abundance instead of shadows of lack, who released resentment and planted love, who prepared their purse and received money, who followed intuition and stepped into miracles, who surrendered their burdens in non-resistance and rose to find doors open where before there had been walls. And I tell you, Every story I have spoken is proof that the law is exact, impartial, unfailing. It never slumbers. It never forgets. It never delays. It works in the night as surely as the sun rises in the morning, and it brings to every man exactly what he has planted with his words. So let me ask you, how will you go to sleep tonight? Will you lie down rehearsing the burdens of the day, turning over the injuries, counting the bills, fearing the future? Or will you enter the night as holy ground, sweeping away fear with denial, planting abundance with affirmation, sealing it with the safeguard of substitution, preparing for your good, listening for intuition, releasing in non-resistance, dissolving resentment, and finally declaring your dominion as a child of God? For the choice is always yours, and the law will always obey the word you give it. If you send it fear, it will bring you lack. If you send it faith, it will bring you wealth. The night is the workshop, but you are the master who gives the orders. Do not underestimate the power of a single night. One night of fear can bind you, but one night of faith can release you. One careless word can set you back, but one strong decree can set you free. Remember the woman with $8 who received thousands. Remember the rose tree that arrived by law. Remember the $3,000 that appeared on time. Remember the countless students who dared to speak boldly. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep, under grace, in perfect ways, and who woke to find channels opened, opportunities unlocked, supply rushing in. These are not accidents. They are not chance. They are not coincidence. They are the exact operation of divine law, and that law will work for you as surely as it worked for them. So let us seal this message with the final word, the word that holds all the power of the teaching you have heard. Say it with me now, wherever you are. I now sleep in peace and rise in abundance. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep, under grace, in perfect ways. I rest in divine love, and I wake to find my good rushing to meet me. Speak it with faith. Speak it with joy. Speak it as though it were already done, for in truth, it is already done. And now, as you go forth from this message, know that your nights are no longer empty hours. They are sacred hours, holy hours, creative hours. You will not waste them in fear. You will not poison them with resentment. You will not clutter them with worry. You will fill them with decrees of truth, and you will rise each morning to find the harvest of what you planted. And when you are ready for the next step, I will show you how the day, too, holds its miracle law. For just as the night is the workshop of God, the morning is the hour of command, when you may speak to the dawn and see it obey. In my next message, I will reveal to you the secrets of the dawn, how to command your day as surely as you command your night. But for now, let this truth echo in your heart. The night is holy ground, and your word is your wand. Use it, and your life will never be the same. Beloved, before you close your eyes, let me speak this word into your soul, a word that will echo through the chambers of your being even as your body rests. The night is holy ground. You are not falling into emptiness. You are stepping into the treasury of God. You are not losing hours in unconsciousness. You are sowing hours in creation. Every breath you take now is planting. Every thought is seed. Every word is command. And the subconscious, your faithful servant, is waiting at the gate, ready to carry out the decree you give it. Do not waste this hour with fear. Do not stain it with resentment. Do not choke it with worry. Enter it with reverence, with expectancy, with dominion. For what you speak now will be written into the fabric of your tomorrow. So I tell you, let us lay down the burdens. Whatever troubled you today is finished. Whatever shadow haunted you is dissolved. Whatever fear pressed upon you is erased. Say with me, I now release every fear, every worry, every shadow of lack. They are nothing. They dissolve into the nothingness from which they came. Only God and His abundance are real. Feel the peace of that truth. Rest in it. Let the heavy chains of anxiety fall from you. Let the sting of old injuries fade into the mist. Let the mind be cleared, the heart be lightened, the spirit be free. And now, with the ground swept clean, we plant. Let us affirm the truth, boldly, joyfully, without hesitation. Say with me, I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. As I sleep, God's rich supply flows to me freely, fully, and without end. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep, under grace, in perfect ways. My purse is crammed, jammed, bulging with supply. I rest in abundance, and I rise in plenty. Speak it again, slower this time, letting the rhythm enter your very breathing. I rest in abundance. I rise in plenty. I rest in abundance. I rise in plenty. Let it echo until it feels more real than the walls around you, more certain than the bed beneath you, more true than anything you have ever feared. And now, beloved, release it. Do not argue. Do not plan. Do not strain. The decree is spoken. The seed is planted. The law is in motion. Your part is done, and God's part has already begun. Rest now in divine love, the everlasting arms that hold you, the infinite substance that supplies you, the eternal law that cannot fail you. As you sleep, the channels are opening, the ways are clearing, the supply is rushing, the miracle is forming. Even now, while your body rests, the law is arranging, aligning, delivering. And when you rise in the morning, you will find that your good has gone before you, waiting to greet you at the door of the new day. So sleep in peace, my beloved. Sleep in strength. Sleep in joy. Sleep in the certainty that all is well. For the night is holy ground, and you have entered it with the word of dominion on your lips. You will wake with freedom in your heart, with abundance in your hand, with praise in your mouth. And when you see the good that comes to you, you will know that it was not by chance, not by luck, not by the toil of man, but by the unfailing law of God, which you dared to use, which you dared to trust, which you dared to command with your word. So now let us seal it with this final decree. I now sleep in peace and rise in abundance. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep, under grace, in perfect ways. I rest in divine love, and I wake to find my good rushing to meet me. Speak it once more, then let silence carry it into the deep. Sleep now, for the work is done, the harvest is certain, and the morning will prove it. Beloved, hear me now. You are not entering sleep as one who is weary and defeated. You are entering sleep as one who is royal, as one who is heir to all the treasures of the kingdom. You are stepping into a temple, a sanctuary, a secret garden where every word you speak will take root and every picture you hold will bear fruit. The night is not to be feared, for God does not slumber, and His law never sleeps. As you rest, the Spirit works. As you close your eyes, the supply moves. As you surrender the day, the new day is being prepared for you. So let us prepare this temple together. Let us sweep the ground. Let us plant the seed. Let us close the door in peace. And let us rest in the certainty of abundance. First, we clear the shadows. Whatever haunted you today, it ends here. Whatever burden pressed upon your shoulders, it falls away now. Whatever injury was done to you, you release it into the great sea of divine love. Say aloud with me, every plan not of God dissolves now. Every false picture is erased. Every shadow is banished. I forgive all. I bless all. I release all. I am free, feel it. Feel the chains falling. Feel the air growing lighter. Feel the soul expanding. No man, no woman, no circumstance holds you now. You are free. And in this freedom, the subconscious has only truth to magnify, only light to carry, only good to reproduce. And now we plant. Speak boldly, for your word is your wand. Say, I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. I draw to myself riches, opportunities, love, and joy. I am one with the inexhaustible substance of spirit. Large sums of money come to me quickly, easily, under grace, in perfect ways. Repeat it. Let it roll in your heart like a great tide. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep. Large sums of money come to me while I sleep. See it. See your purse filled, crammed, jammed, bulging with supply. See your accounts overflowing. See debts dissolved. See freedom written across your affairs. Hold it until it feels real, for in truth, it already is. Now release it. Do not argue. Do not plan. Do not resist. Say, I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free. I rest in divine love. I release every question of how or when. It is already done. My supply is secure. My prosperity is assured. My miracle is forming even now. Feel the peace wash over you as you surrender. For the law requires no strain, only faith. The subconscious is at work. The channels are opening. The way is clearing. You need only rest. And so we seal it with gratitude. Give thanks now, not for what you hope will come, but for what is already yours. Say, I give thanks that the millions which are mine by divine right now pour in and pile up under grace in perfect ways. I give thanks for the money, for the opportunities, for the freedom, for the joy. I give thanks that it is already done. Gratitude is the final seal, the golden clasp that locks the treasure chest. Rest in it, rejoice in it. Let it be the last song in your heart as you drift into silence. And now, beloved, close your eyes and sleep. Sleep not as one who escapes, but as one who creates. Sleep not as one who fears, but as one who commands. Sleep not as one who is empty, but as one who is full. For you have spoken the word, and the word cannot return void. You have entered the night as holy ground, and the harvest of the morning is already assured. So rest now. Sleep in peace, and rise in abundance. Sleep in faith, and rise in freedom. Sleep in love, and rise in joy. For the night is holy, the law is unfailing, and your good is already on the way.